The Auburn Tigers advance to the round of 32 versus Creighton. Can they get out of the first weekend? Let's talk about it right here inside the town.
The Auburn Express. You are now listening to The War Report, Longtown Podcast. With your boy, Ike Jones.
Side of Live Town, part of the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report. Today, brought to you by the good folks over at BetUSTV.com. Make sure you head over to BetUSTV.com for all odds and all the markets and all games and sports around the landscape of all athletics. Again, not just college basketball, but if you want to be able to get the best information about odds, head over to BetUSTV.com. And then, when you get over there, tell them guys War Report sent you when you get there. We're going to talk about this game. This game has opened up at a 9-point line in favor of the Auburn Tigers versus the Creighton BlueJays in the round of 32. And this is the crucial round, really, because this is the one that Bruce Pearl's teams have not made it out of in the last couple, right? They lost in the first round to Yale last year, lost in the round of 32 to Miami a couple years ago, lost in the round of 32 to Houston the year after that. Have not been able to get out of the first weekend. And this is the place where people are expecting the Auburn Tigers to fall flat. Did not have the best performance against Alabama State in the first round. And it has people continuing to question, is this Auburn team able to get back into a place where they feel like the number one team in the country? Not just the number one team in the country by name and by the number on the line, but they feel like they're dominating teams the way that they need to. And can Auburn just block out all of that noise, get past all of the expectations and the weight of those things and the internal frustrations that they're having with how they're playing and the effort and energy? Can they do all of those things and go and get a win versus the Creighton BlueJays, a tough Creighton BlueJays team here? They're a 9 seed in the tournament, but they are definitely one of the better 9 seeds out here. They went 25-10 on the season, 15-5 there in the Big East, and a tough Big East with a couple of really good tournament teams that are there inside the tournament right now. So this Creighton team is, from an analytics standpoint, one of those teams that is top 50 in offense and defense, right? They're a team that just doesn't really turn the ball over a lot. They don't turn you over a lot, but they're just a patient team, and they work their strategic stuff, and they don't really get rattled. They've got a lot of senior leadership on this team, just as Auburn does, and they're going to be a tough out for the Auburn Tigers. When I take a look at the matchup between these two teams, comparatively to the Alabama State game, it's going to be a team that's just bigger, right? Like, not necessarily in height, even though they do have Kalkbrenner there, who is a true 7-footer on the interior, great shot blocker for them. 7'1", a guy who can really wall up defensively and does a good job of being a rim protector for Creighton. But they are just from a size perspective, as far as pounds, they're not giving up as much weight to Auburn. It's going to be a physical matchup on the interior to try to see who's controlling the paint in this game. Creighton does a really good job from two, right? They are a very efficient 2-point shooting team. They take tough contested jump shots in the lane that they can make. And they get really good action that allows them to get some easy points from what they do offensively. So this is going to be a very disciplined team. Auburn's going to have a tough time trying to get this team and turn them over. Now, having said that, they are susceptible to some lulls where they'll go out there and they'll turn the ball over a little bit. But this is an efficient offensive team, and Auburn's going to have to do some work to make sure that they're in a position to make Creighton have to work on their offensive end. When you look at, Auburn's a little bit better in their defensive efficiency, but Creighton, again, in the top 25 in offensive efficiency. So this is going to be a matchup of two teams that are really built very similarly, not exactly the same, because Kalkbrenner, a little bit more of an offensive weapon than a Dylan Cardwell, who is the defensive anchor for Auburn, but very similarly built teams and how they efficiently work their offense. When Auburn's working its offense, they are a very efficient team. Of late, Auburn has gotten into a little bit of hero ball ish type of stuff out there where they're taking stuff off schedule and not really working through their offense and trying. It's like, oh, it's my turn, I'm going to get mine type of thing, as opposed to making sure they're taking shots within the offense. And that's kind of Creighton is a team that will make you pay if you do that sort of stuff too much in those games. They can't afford those lulls offensively where they're being sloppy, having turnovers and bad shots in back-to-back possessions. A thing that Coach Pearl says, valuing possessions. The possessions are not going to be ubiquitous. They're not just going to be out there and you can just get into, oh, we'll have another possession. Value this one. Make sure you're taking the best shot available to you at the time for this one. Work through the offense because they have some brilliant offensive minds and some brilliant players that can work a really great offensive system, but they have to be patient within that system and do what they need to do. And limit some of the bad shots that they were taking in that Alabama State game. As far as what you're going to see offensively from Creighton, you're going to see a team in Creighton again that runs a lot of really good action to be able to go inside out. What they want to be able to do is let Kalkbrenner be kind of a guy that has the gravitational force. You hear again, that's why I say they're built a lot like Auburn. Similarly to Janai Broom, they want to let him be the gravitational force of their offense and get the ball to him, and then he works it back to his guys on the exterior, who they're not a great three-point shooting team, but they are going to shoot a lot of threes. Not a great three-point shooting team, but they're going to shoot a lot of them. In fact, they are in the top, make sure I have this correct, at three-point rate in the country. They are in the top 11. They're the number 11 team in three-point rate in the country this season. They shoot a lot of threes, 29th most threes per game. But the rate in which they shoot them, number 11 in the country, they're putting up a lot of three-pointers, right? They shoot a mid-30s percentage. It's not like they're an amazing three-point shooting team, but because they shoot a lot of them, they're going to make a lot of them in a game. So expect a lot of threes to go up from this Creighton team in this game. Auburn being one of the best three-point defensive teams in the country, that's going to be one of those things where you are really good at a thing, and can you take away the thing that they're really good at? Auburn is in the top 60 in three-point defense, and that number creeps up even better when they are on the road or in neutral sites, and creeps up even more when you're talking about when they play against teams within the top 50 rating overall in a lot of these metrics. And I'm looking at Bar Torvik as my rating system that I'm choosing to use. But Auburn defends the three really well. Creighton puts up a lot of threes. That means they're going to shoot a lot of threes. That means your guards need to do a good job of boxing out. Those long rebounds are going to be available to them. You need your guards to be able to rebound really well and help those bigs out to be able to close possessions out. Can't just close out with a hand up. Got to close out with a hand up and then turn and box out, or find bodies to make sure that you are able to secure and finalize defensive possessions. Now, as far as an offensive rebounding team, Creighton, not great. Right, they're just actually they're on the lower end in the country as offensive rebounds go. But Auburn struggled to keep teams off of the glass. So with a team that has some size and athleticism in Creighton, you have to make a concerted effort to say, we're going 5 guys to the glass. 5 guys to the glass to make sure that we can close out this possession with a defensive rebound. Creighton is not a great offensive rebounding team, but if you're going to shoot a lot of threes and your guards aren't being active, then they're going to get additional opportunities to be able to do that. And then when you that usually that second or third three of the possession is really where you start to see those percentages creep up for a lot of teams. So got to do a really good job of that when they get into this game versus Creighton. The other thing that you're going to see, and we talk about players. I've already mentioned Kalkbrenner, but he is their leading scorer at 19.4 points per game. Stephen Ashworth is the floor general for him, and he is a good catch and shoot three guy. He's a guy who's going to go out there and really be 6.8 assists per game for Ashworth to only 3.5 turnovers. So that's a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. Denver Jones and Tahad Pettiford going to need to do a really good job on him. And I'm not going to mention a lot of names when you talk about Creighton, because Creighton really only plays about 7 guys consistently. They don't go deep into their bench. So this is another thing where Auburn is going to have to, by committee and in waves, be able to kind of wear this Creighton team down. And that may ultimately be the success or failure of this team, is how well in their rotations are they able to keep momentum against a Creighton team, particularly when you get in late game. If the game is close, can you make those plays in those last few minutes when they've started to tire out? But Ashworth does a really good job for them of being a floor general. And then The other guy who had a phenomenal game in this game versus Louisville is Jemiah Neal. Like, he was a tough shot maker for them off the dribble, off the bounce. They spread it out and let him go one-on-one with some opportunities. It's going to be interesting to see what the defensive matchup is for Neal in this game. I feel like the strategy for them is going to be, because of Auburn's willingness to switch bigs, is to get him against a big ISO and let him go one-on-one versus. And he's an excellent shot maker. I liked what I saw with him versus Louisville in that game. Some tough shots, and they shot a healthy percentage. Now, they are one of the best 2-point shooting teams. Matter of fact, from an analytics standpoint, they are the second best in the country from two, both offensively and top 15, top 16 in the country defensively from two. So Kalkbrenner does a good job defensively and making sure he's the backstop. And I'll talk about their defense here in just a minute. But offensively, they do a good job of making tough contested twos and getting easy shot opportunities for their big guys there on the interior. And again, they're going to put up a ton of threes. So Auburn defensively, again, it's going to be interesting to see what the matchup is there versus Neal in specific. I think that not Chaney Johnson, but Chad is going to probably get first crack at him, and then you probably see a little bit of Miles Kelly going up against him as well. But those guys are going to have to really try to limit his ability to take shots, as he gets into the lane, because he's willing to take that mid-range shot, and he shoots a healthy percentage from it. Flipping it over to the other side and talking about the Creighton defense. I talked about Kalkbrenner and how well he walls up on the interior. This team doesn't foul a lot. They do not send teams to the free throw line a lot. They have the best defensive free throw rate in the country, according to Bar Torvik. They do not foul. They do a great job of playing defense without fouling, and this is going to be something that Auburn is going to have to deal with in this game. It's just dealing with the contact and finishing through contact, because not only were the refs letting contact go and stuff that kind of was fouls in that first game versus Alabama State and fouls, and when I watched Louisville play Creighton, but they were also doing a good job of not blowing the whistle on stuff that was contact that wasn't a foul. And Auburn has not done a great job in these last few games of just playing through the contact and not hoping the whistle bailed them out. They've got to do a much better job of that against a Creighton team that is going to challenge you at the rim. They are going to go and they're going to make the shots that you have, tough contested shots, finish the play. Don't look for the whistle, look for the bucket. Auburn's going to have to do a good job of that. In addition, I talked about this a little bit in my reaction show to the Alabama State game. Janai Broom needs to fall out of love with the three-point shot, because I think what Creighton is going to do is they're going to let him shoot a couple of them early. And if he makes them, then they'll adjust their strategy. But what they really want to do is play a lot of drop coverage with Kalkbrenner and keep him close to the rim. They're not, if you're going to pull Janai Broom out and try to put him in high screen action, they're going to drop and leave some space there for Janai. If he makes a couple of them early, cool, but don't fall in love with that three if you're Janai Broom just because they're giving it to you. He needs to be able to go in there and really operate from within the paint. And I think this is one of those teams that's going to feel comfortable going one-on-one with Janai Broom. He's got the height advantage with Kalkbrenner. It's going to be interesting. I think that they will probably have him, Kalkbrenner, that is, playing more on Dylan Cardwell than they will Janai Broom in the post. So it's going to be interesting to see how they decide to play outside of that. But I think that they'll go one-on-one a lot more in the post Kalkbrenner versus Janai Broom, because they do have that height advantage there on the interior. So that means the other guys that are out there that usually feed off of those double teams may not get as many opportunities in this game. So the pin down actions that you have for Miles Kelly, those are going to be more important, because they're not going to be able to play the inside out game as much with Janai if they're not going to be double teamed. But again, what I expect to see from Auburn, because I don't think Creighton's going to play a lot of zone, what I expect to see from Auburn is a lot of screen action to get Janai the ball on the move and get some switches and force them to have to play smaller guys versus him on the interior and let him get some easy opportunities versus those guys. And he just needs to finish strong around the rim with that, because Kalkbrenner's going to be lurking to try to be able to come over and help. So if a double team comes, it might not come on the dribble like you had seen in a lot of these games recently. It may come on the shot with Kalkbrenner coming over to try to provide help. So that means that off-ball dunker spot where you get Janai Broom throwing the ball to Chaney Johnson, Dylan Cardwell might be open a little bit in this game for Auburn. So look to see some of that action happening for Auburn, and maybe have a resurgence of mid-range Janai in this one, where he flashes to the high post and he's able to get the quick left hand, float shot there from about 10 to 15 in this game, if Kalkbrenner is going to give him some space and they're not going to double there in the high post. So hopefully Janai has a bounce back game from a turnovers perspective and being able to get his assist to turnover ratio back in the place where it needs to be for a guy of his caliber out there. In addition to this Creighton team is a good defensive rebounding team. They are in their defensive rebounding rate in the top 60 in the country. They keep teams off of the offensive glass really well. And so Auburn is going to have to, talking about valuing possessions, making sure that they're taking good shots, because they're not going to get a lot of additional opportunities, which is why their defensive rate is so high in Creighton. They're not going to get a lot of additional opportunities to go and get some more shots. So you got to be able to, loose balls, you got to scramble and get those opportunities when they come, because they're not going to be a lot of them. And you need to make sure that you're taking better shots from the field than you did in that game versus Alabama State, because Creighton's going to be able to make you pay a little bit more than Alabama State was, because of how efficient they are offensively and how well they're going to be able to cover up on the defensive glass. Now, this Creighton team is not a team that turns you over a bunch, but how they function defensively is really, again, and this is why I say Auburn and Creighton mirror each other in these ways. Not going to turn you over a lot, but they are going to force you into bad looks, and they're going to try to make you, take the shot clock down. And so Auburn may try to speed the tempo up a little bit versus Creighton, get out and transition a little bit and do some things with their pressing defense to make them try to make a few more mistakes than they typically do. Again, it's not a team that turns the ball over a lot in Creighton, but they also don't turn you over an inordinate amount of time. So Auburn's going to need to make sure that they're valuing possession in that way. The last thing I want to mention here in this game, you saw Miles Kelly with another eruption inside of Rupp Arena. The only bad thing about that, there have been two other games this season where Miles Kelly has hit 7 or more three-pointers. The first one was the very first game of the season at home. He had 7 threes there inside that he played. Because he was out the first couple of games of the season with the wrist injury. When he came and he actually played in that first game there inside of Neville Arena, he made 7 threes that night. The next game, he only hit 1 3. The next time that he hit plus 7 threes was the last time that he was in Rupp Arena. The next game, he hit 0 threes. Had 7 threes in this game. Can Miles Kelly break the streak of, and I said he was, I made the comparison that he's got a little bit of that Klay Thompson in him where he goes crazy from 3 and then the next game it fizzles off, right? Can he break that streak of, and maybe back-to-back games in the same arena that he's like shooting in will be the remedy for that? I'm hoping that Miles Kelly does not go cold from 3 in this game. And if he does, can he fall out of love with his three-point shot and decide, all right, it's better for me to drive this and get to the rim and be able to get myself some easy opportunities / get to the free throw line. You're also looking at just kind of the three-point shooting for the team as a whole. I think they took way too many threes in the first game versus Alabama State. They've got to get back into a position where they're not. Listen, if they're open threes out of action, that's better than an open 3 off the dribble because, we're in transition. Let me hit them with that wop, and then get to the step back. Like, let's get back to fundamental threes that are flowing through the offense. And I think that Auburn's going to be in a much better position. But that's it, man. That's all the analysis I got for you in this game. I think that this is a game that Auburn should win. Auburn should win this game because Auburn is the better team, but they have to get back to playing a more efficient brand of offensive basketball and continue to play good defense. They play very good defense for the most part against Alabama State, a team that can light you up offensively, can be very good and athletic out there. They're going to have to produce a better effort, I think, on the glass than they did versus Alabama State. Won the defensive rebounding battle, won the battle on the boards versus Alabama State. Didn't love the effort that I saw 40 minutes in that game. So they need to get a little bit better than that against a Creighton team that's not a great rebounding team as well. One of the poorer rebounding teams in the country, but will give you that effort necessary. Auburn needs to match that effort and intensity in this one. But anyway, I'm out of here. I want to hear your thoughts. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the content with somebody. We will be back with you with a reaction after the game is over with to talk about what happens here. Auburn, get out of the second round of the NCAA tournament. I'm out of here, man. Until the next time, and as always, War Eagle.